Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this Google Ads guide, you're going to learn how to use the keyword planner to find your most profitable keywords for your search campaigns. Timestamp table of contents in the description, along with another helpful video that actually walks through putting together your first search campaign. So with that, let's go ahead, jump into my screen. I'm gonna walk you click by click how to find your most profitable keywords, and maybe even more importantly, how to avoid the bad ones. So the very first thing we need to know as we dive in here is your job is to find keywords that are going to make you money, while Google's keyword planner tool is designed to show you everything under the sun. So not everything that Google gives you, even when you use competitors, is going to be a good idea. So I'm going to assume you already have a Google account. If you don't, you can just head over to google.com and set up a free account. Go ahead and skip the setup process so you can get straight into your dashboard. And we'll get into some of the limitations if you're doing this for the first time. Now, all you have to do is from your overview, click on Tools and Settings, and then you'll go ahead and click on Keyword Planner. Now here you're going to have two options. You can start with Discover New Keywords, or you can go with Get Search Volume. Now, search volume data is going to be helpful if you've already done all the hard work that we're about to go through. So we're not going to use that one. Here, we're looking for brand new keyword ideas, and so that's what we're going to go ahead and go with. So to start off our search, we're going to need a couple of seed keywords to get started with. This is just 3 to 4 very, very specific keywords to our product or service. In this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and go with a service, and let's say we are a digital agency in Seattle looking for some new pay-per-click clients. We want to set up their ad campaigns and do all this hard work for them. So we're going to have Seattle PPC Management, Best Agency, and then Seattle PPC Agency. So we'll just mix up a couple of these. Now, if you want to know where to get these keywords, you can go ahead and use the timestamp table of contents to come back to this little chart and pause. This is just something that can give you a quick and dirty list of 3 to 5 seed keywords to start your search. So whether you're doing e-commerce or product, or you're a services-based business, you can use these formulas to create your seeds for your keyword research. So let's go ahead and jump back into the interface. You can also do a separate search for competitors. So if you know of a competitor, go ahead and select their sales or product page specifically, not their whole domain, but the specific page that's similar to what you're running, and Google can give you some ideas. You're gonna go through the exact same process. And by the way, these ideas don't necessarily mean that the competitor is running those keywords. This is just Google coming up with what they think would be a good fit for that particular page. It's important that you choose competitors that have a lot of traffic, big ones, not small, tiny ones. So let's go ahead and get our search results here. So before we dive into the keywords and creating some ad groups and the plan overview and all that fun stuff, let's go ahead and just go through everything you have available to you in this dashboard and the things that you should ignore. So we'll start up here at the top with location. So the locations you choose here should mirror what you would actually do for your campaign. Now again, I'll link up in the description to a full-blown video on setting up your campaign, choosing locations. Here's just an 80-20 quick rundown. If you are going to be targeting internationally, the entire world, then just go ahead and not have any location settings whatsoever. If you're going to be targeting a specific country or region, then these are the breakdowns of how detailed you want to be with your locations entering in. So for example, if you're targeting an entire country, you don't need cities and zip codes. Just put in all of the states, provinces, or territories, and you're good to go. On the other side, if you are targeting a very local area, then go ahead and put in those neighborhoods and zip codes. You'll see when you get to the plan overview why this is actually going to be important. But you don't want to get too detailed, because then the data is going to be cut up in such little pieces it's not really going to matter to you. Now the next one is your language settings. I typically just leave this alone. I like to use the location as a way of targeting the right people. You only need to do this if it's absolutely critical for your business. Next, we have the Google network. So you're going to leave this at Google. They allow you to see search partners as well. You just want to get data from Google. And then finally, you can set the dates that you want to see the data from. So these aren't actually going to affect very much the keywords you see, but this is going to affect your planning and the search data that they give you. You really only want to mess with this last one if you are a seasonal business. So for example, if you're selling Halloween costumes, you probably want to see traffic around the time of Halloween and not really in in the middle of July. Unless a lot of people buy Halloween costumes in July. I don't know, there's that Christmas shopping in the July thing too. I digress. So the next part of our dashboard here is going to be your actual search terms. So if you want to modify your seeds, you can go ahead and have the exact same settings that you had when you were first setting up your search. Now, something that's very important here, save all of your keywords before you mess with this, right? Because any changes you make here are going to reshuffle everything you're seeing. So when we're going through how to add things to your plan and ad groups, even if you're not going to use those particular ad groups, save everything to an ad group before you start messing with this. Otherwise, keywords can disappear, go away, or you'll just lose them. So this next part is going to be suggestions for you. And this is where, remember that first slide where you're looking for profit and Google's just giving you everything under the sun. So you typically don't want to broaden your search. Like for example here, we are a PPC agency in Seattle. So there's no reason for us to go after the keyword Seattle because that makes no sense. That's an entire city. And even best internet marketing service and best digital marketing services, that's still too broad. Digital marketing, that could be SEO, that could be conversion rate optimization, that could be page building, that tons of things that have nothing to do with specifically pay per click. So you do want to make sure that you don't broaden your search. Even if you're not getting very many keywords, going broader doesn't mean you're getting better customers, right? If there are only a couple keywords for your specific customer base, then those are the keywords you should focus on, and that's where your budget should go. It's not about being broad, it's about being specific, finding your ideal customers. So moving down here, one more section before we get into filtering through our keywords. They give you a couple of charts. Now these charts are going to be for all of the keywords in the suggestions. And so this data isn't really going to be that much helpful as your plan data that we'll get to later. So here we just have a chart to help you understand search volume traffics throughout the year, breakdowns by platform, mobile or desktop. So is your site mobile optimized? If everyone seems to be searching these keywords on mobile, here it's 73% desktop. So we can probably get away with a pretty crummy mobile experience. And then of course, it's going to give you breakdowns by location. Because I've chosen United States, it's giving me specific states. If I had chosen one specific state, then it would give me a breakdown of areas within that state. So that's why it's important that you choose which location you want, because this is also going to apply in your plan. I know I keep talking about the plan, but we're going to get there. So now let's go ahead and talk about the actual keywords and what you want to do to quickly filter down to find the keywords that are going to be the most profitable for you and your products. And filter settings are going to be your best friend. So you can come in here and click on filter. You can search by keyword text and some other things, but keyword text is going to be the big one because you immediately want to go in here. Now we only have 14 in this example. We're nice and small already. That's good. But if you have like hundreds of keywords for whatever reason, you want to enter in an exclusion filter for who, what, when, where, why, free, and how, because people who include those words in their search are not looking to buy something. Now, if you were trying to use this tool for SEO, awesome. You'd actually want to only find those keywords. But these are the keywords that you actually don't want to use. This search is also going to be helpful when you're putting together your negative keyword list, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So the only other thing you might want to do is filter out the keywords you already have in your account or plan. So if you're going through this multiple times, you're doing multiple searches, you might want to go ahead and filter those out so you don't wind up looking at the same set of keywords over and over again. And finally, we have columns. There's not really much you need to do here. You can just turn on and off some columns. The only other column that I'd recommend playing with is the competition column. And that's if you're trying to really figure out which keywords you should go after. If you have a small budget and you're seeing that the cost per click to be in the first page is really, really high, and you're trying to find one or two keywords that you might be able to stretch your budget to use. And so that's a little advanced, so we won't get too much into that, but that's just something you can do. A column you can add if you're finding that all of these look too expensive. Where's an opportunity where I might actually compete with a smaller budget? And so that does it for all of your settings here. So hopefully you've filtered out all of those bad keywords. You have the columns you need. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our actual data here. Now, average monthly searches, there's a lot of complaints about this. As you can see with this particular account, we can see exact numbers. If you're doing this for the first time, you won't see exact numbers, you will see ranges. And that's simply because, long story short, Google was tired of their platform being abused, so they only want to give this data to people who are actually spending money with them, as opposed to all those SEO people who just want to use this to help rank their sites and blog posts and have no intention of ever giving Google any money. Now, something that's very important here. It doesn't matter. It's okay if you can't see the search volume. What's more important is you're finding buyer keywords, keywords that represent buyers. Even if that keyword only gets 30 searches a month, who cares? It's a buyer. It's someone you should go after. So don't get stressed out when you're seeing ranges and you're going, I don't know if there's enough search traffic here. It really doesn't matter. Even if you only get 1 or 2 clicks on a keyword, if they're the right 1 or 2 clicks, it doesn't matter. So let's go ahead, jump back in here. Now the next column we have is going to be the competition. And this is just Google's way of telling you how competitive it is to go after that particular keyword. Now the good news is we are only concerned with whether or not the keyword represents a buyer. So even the keyword's more expensive, but if it's a buyer and we're actually going to be able to get a good cost per conversion, then who cares? So definitely don't get freaked out if you're looking at your keywords and everything says hi. That's all right. So here's a quick way to stretch your budget a little further and make sure that you're not wasting any ad dollars. So if you're seeing the competition is high, when you're adding keywords to your plan, go ahead and add them as exact match. That will ensure that you're telling Google, hey, unless someone types in this exact phrase, this exact way, don't show my ad. So you're going to get a lot less traffic when you add keywords that way, but you're going to make sure that you're only targeting that specific phrase and you're not going to get any of the fluff or waste. Now, if it's medium, you can go ahead and do exact match, and then you can also do something called phrase match, where you put quotations around the keyword. And so phrase match is you're giving Google a little more rope here, saying, okay, it doesn't have to be exact, but we need all the keywords to show up. So for example, Seattle PPC Management Agency, an exact match, someone would have to type in Seattle PPC Management Agency exactly that way, no ifs, ands, buts about it. But if it's a phrase match, then it could be any combination of those keywords. Where if it's broad, well, you definitely don't want to do broad for that, because then you could show up for search results that just were Seattle or management or agency or PPC. So broad is just like opening the floodgates, and you pretty much almost never want to use that unless it's a low traffic keyword. And the reason that you would use it for a low traffic keyword is because you're much less likely to have a lot of waste in your ad spend. And the last columns we have here are the estimated cost per click, and these should generally just be, again, ignore them for now. Use the planning tools to figure out what your actual average cost per click is going to be. These are just letting you know, hey, this is generally how much it might cost to get on the first page. So hopefully you feel like you have everything you need to know to make this, manipulate the data, make it work for you. So now let's go ahead and go through actually adding some keywords to our plan and how we can actually begin to forecast how much it's going to cost to go after keywords. Now again here, we want to make sure that we're looking for keywords that represent someone who's searching to actually make a purchase. So we've already eliminated the what, when, where, how, and free people. So now we want to make sure that we're adding keywords that are very relevant to our product or service. So as an example, let's just go ahead and add these bottom three: Agency Seattle, Company Seattle, and Management Company Seattle, which is medium, low, and then nothing apparently. So these are going to be very, very low traffic keywords. We probably want to do a broad, but I'll just do phrase for this example. And once we select them, a dialog box will pop up at the top. We can go ahead and add them to a plan or an existing campaign. I definitely recommend always adding it to a plan, because when you add it to an existing campaign, it immediately goes live. And there's a lot of organization mess and headache that can come from that. So next we can go ahead and either create a new ad group in our plan. This isn't something that's being posted live, just in our plan, or select an ad group we've already made. So if you already had some ad groups in your plan, those would be here, so you could just add them to it. We're gonna go ahead and make a new ad group, PPC Seattle, and then we get to choose what type of match type we want. Here, I'm just gonna select phrase. For PPC Agency Seattle, I would actually do phrase and exact. And then for the bottom two, I would do all three match types, especially because the traffic seems so low. After a week or two, I would be able to see if I'm getting a bunch of bad clicks with those bottom two using the broad match. So we can go ahead and add the keywords to our plan. You can see now the account status has showed that it's in our plan, and we can go ahead and click on View Forecast or Keywords to see what the projected cost is going to be for these specific keywords given our location targeting, marketing and our match types. Now, before we do that, I want to show you how to add negative keywords because this is very important. So let's say, for example, we took out all of the filters of the who, what, when, where, why, free, and how. And then we went ahead and changed those filters to only show keywords with those phrases in them. And so what you would do is you'd start selecting keywords that you know represent someone who's not trying to buy, they're just trying to educate themselves. They're looking for how to do it. They're a DIYer, or they're just looking up general information. They're not ready to whip out their credit card and do business with you. So what you would do is you go through the same process, select that keyword. In this particular example, I'm just gonna say best PPC advertising companies. Let's say we know this keyword stinks. These are terrible people. They're not terrible people. They're terrible buyers. They don't like buying. They only want to get information, right? I don't mean terrible people. Woo! Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and click on more this time, and then we can add as negative keyword broad, phrase, or exact. So typically if you have one of those how-to phrases or who, what, when, where, why, then go ahead and add them as a phrase match, and that will make sure that you don't get those types of searches in your campaign. So you can go ahead and just add them to your plan, and you'll be able to see all your negative keywords in your plan. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on over to the plan section. So we'll click on keywords to see our projections for the keywords that we've chosen, and 0. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. So we'll go through how to change this data, and then we'll try and fix it so we actually get some numbers here. But don't freak out if this happens to you too. It just means you're being specific. Google likes to give data on really broad stuff. They don't like giving away the data on the juicy, really good keywords that are very specific like these. So what you're seeing here is estimates for the next 30 days. So if you want to change the time frame, you can go ahead and click on next month. You can click on the month up top and change your estimated time frames. Typically, I just like leaving it at a 30-day window so I could understand how much I'd have to spend over each month in order to achieve the results that are in the graph. So to try and get some data here, we can go ahead and click on our graph here. We'll see there's no data for these particular metrics, and we can actually click on the max CPC. Now, since we're not getting any data here, I'm just gonna go ahead and change this to 45 to just see if I can get anything, because these particular keywords were somewhat expensive. So we'll click on 45 and we still get nothing. So the next thing that we can do is we have to assume that the search volume is just too low for these specific keyword match types. So what we can do is we can click on this big blue plus button and we can add a different match type version of the keyword. So here I have phrase, so I'm gonna go up one and say broad. You know what, Google? Just give me broad match of all of these keywords. Again, these were very low traffic, but they're very specific to our offer, which is what you want. You want very specific keywords. So we'll go ahead and click on save, and it still gives us nothing, even though it's at 45 max. Now I'm going through this example because I really want to show you it's okay if this happens. It's actually a good thing because it means you're being very specific and Google has data that it doesn't want to share with you. So the last thing we can do is just assume, okay, these keywords are just very low traffic, but they do represent buyers. So to help us with some data, I'm just gonna go ahead and add in some really general keywords and click on save, and now we get results. So we'll go through these, but I would never actually use these 3 keywords that I just added because they're just so very broad. But we do need some data to show you how this works. So now we need to start thinking about our budget, because now we need to really dive into how our impressions and clicks are gonna change based upon how much we're willing to spend per click or how much we're willing to spend over a month. So what we can do is we can go back in here. Let's go ahead and change this from 45 down to 12, and then we'll go ahead and save our changes. And now we can see that our budget has gone from $3,200 a month down to $410. Now, something that's very important to note here when you're looking at your keywords or you're doing this in the ad group section is this represents just one ad group. So you also have to keep in mind how much you're willing to spend over the first couple of months. So you need to make sure that you're not going after really expensive keywords. If all your keywords are expensive, which in this niche it is, you may have to make a really tough decision on either not having as many campaigns or just going after 2 or 3 keywords per month, because you do need to get to statistical significance, which is very important. If you're only getting 53 clicks over a 30-day period, it's going to be very hard to optimize your ads and landing pages or websites for conversions. So let's go ahead and go to the plan overview very quickly. And it's the same information, but if you scroll down here, now we'll be able to see the device data and the location data for the specific keywords that we've chosen. So this is going to be a lot more helpful compared to the first set of charts we went over that were just covering all of the keyword suggestions. Now there's one final feature that's going to help save you a lot of time, especially if you have a lot of keywords. So you can actually go over to groups, and what Google will do is they'll not only give you a bunch of keywords like we've already gone over, but they'll also put them into predefined ad groups. So they will go through sorting things and putting things together in tightly knit groups. And so this is where you can actually save quite a bit of time by simply using some of the suggestions Google is giving you. Now, I definitely still recommend go through each keyword and make sure they actually represent a buyer. They actually represent someone who wants to purchase your product or service or enter their name and email for your free offer. So you definitely want to make sure that you're not having any super broad keywords sneaking in there, because Google really likes to do that. So let's say, for example, PPC company, we like all of these keywords. In fact, 2 of them are already in our plan. We can just go ahead and select the ad group and then add that ad group and all the keywords that are in it to our plan, and then of course go through the planning and keyword features to figure out what our budget would have to be in order to go after those keywords. And that's all there is to it, to getting up and running with the Google Ads Keyword Planner. Make sure you check out that timestamp table of contents. We did go over a lot and we went over every single feature that you need. So now it's your turn to dive in and start finding those buyer keywords, filter out all of those tire kicker keywords, and of course, make a plan that fits your budget. Of course, making sure that you're going to get enough clicks and impressions, hopefully at least a couple thousand impressions and a couple hundred clicks per month in order to be able to optimize your new campaign. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive Google Ads videos just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.